The chair now recognizes the ranking member of the Emergency Preparedness Response and Recovery Subcommittee, the gentlewoman of Florida, Ms. Cammack, for her opening statement.
Well, thank you, Chairwoman Demings, for holding this important hearing today. Thank you to Administrator Criswell for being here before us. And as Floridians, of course, I think there's far more that we agree on when it comes to this issue than most others. So I'm excited for today's hearing. And as we all know, FEMA's mission is to help people before, during, and after disasters. And I put an emphasis on before because I think collectively when we place an emphasis on mitigation, we are better for it in the aftermath. With the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season entering its second week, this mission cannot be overstated. As representatives from Florida, I know that the chairwoman and I both agree that our state certainly has seen its fair share of natural disasters. And during my time as the ranking member of this subcommittee, I have gained a deeper appreciation for the vital work that FEMA does and for the men and women that comprise FEMA's workforce. I've also seen firsthand the incredible amount of work that we have ahead of us, but I feel confident that we will succeed. For example, the suite of preparedness grants administered by FEMA provides critical support so that state, local, tribal, and territorial governments have the resources necessary to keep our communities safe. Following the horrific attack against the Congregation Beth Israel Synagogue in Colleyville, Texas, I was pleased to see the increase to the Nonprofit Security Grant Program to $360 million for fiscal year 23. Similarly, I was very pleased to see an increase of $10 million in the FY23 request from the FY22 enacted levels for both the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program and the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response, the SAFER grant programs. Now, as the wife of a proud wife of a firefighter, I know how important and necessary these grants are, not only for our professional and career departments, but for our nearly 30,000 volunteer fire departments across the United States. And sometimes I feel like they're a little bit of the red-headed stepchild, and they don't get near enough attention. So today I'm going to be talking about their needs as well and how FEMA can better serve our volunteer departments. The FY23 budget request also includes $312 million for education training and exercises, including $8 million for FEMA's Emergency Management Institute to expand satellite partnerships, develop leadership programs, and modernize virtual technology systems, among other items. It is important that through EMI and FEMA's other educational facilities that we ensure resources and training remain accessible to communities across the country, including our rural communities. I look forward to hearing more from the administrator on EMI's request and additional initiatives that seek to improve the invaluable training for our nation's emergency responders. Additionally, while not explicitly laid out in the budget, I am encouraged to learn of FEMA's recently released building code strategy, which seeks to organize and prioritize FEMA's activities to advance the adoption and enforcement of hazard-resistant building codes and standards for FEMA programs. As we learned from University of Florida Professor Dr. David Pravat, go Gators, who submitted written testimony for our last subcommittee hearing, our better building construction can narrow the width of the most catastrophic destruction so that homes, while possibly experiencing damage, can remain habitable immediately following a disaster. Not only does better building construction immensely benefit the disaster survivor, but there is potential for significant cost savings. While much of FEMA's FY23 budget seems fairly straightforward, I still have major concerns regarding FEMA's emergency food and shelter program. The 23 request includes $24 million to provide shelter and other services to families and individuals encountered by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, although $24 million is less than the $150 million enacted for fiscal year 2022, it is not an insignificant number. And at a time when Americans are having to make the choice between gas or groceries, and those on fixed incomes are seeing their rents skyrocket, I have to ask why so much of American tax dollars are going to house illegal immigrants. I would also like this time to mention my concerns with FEMA's funeral assistance program. During a full committee hearing last year, I asked you, Administrator Criswell, if there were enough safeguards in place to ensure that fraud throughout the program would not be rampant. During that hearing, you assured me that FEMA was taking the necessary precautions. However, both the DHS Office of Inspector General and the GAO recently released reports detailing instances of fraud within the program that, of course, has led to abuse and waste of taxpayer dollars. Given that this program has paid out over $2.5 billion with a B, I look forward to hearing more on the program today and the steps that you and FEMA are taking to ensure that these issues are corrected. Again, I want to thank you, Administrator Criswell, for appearing before us today, and I'm eager to learn of FEMA's priorities for the coming year and how this budget request supports our goals. I know that we have sparred a bit over these last 16 months over various issues, but I want to assure you and my colleagues and Americans that we are here and we have to ask the tough questions and conduct the actual oversight if we are going to be effective in FEMA's mission. And as always, thank you to our FEMA workforce, our first responders, our emergency managers, and community partners at every level of government. Your ability to adapt to ever-changing threats and vulnerabilities ensures that our nation's continued ability to prevent, prepare, and mitigate, respond to, and recover from the threats and hazards we face daily. And with that, Madam Chairwoman, I yield back.